Now that we're not signing Lavia and Caicedo, the question on every Liverpool fan's lips is who's next? Who can Liverpool target? Well, in this video, I'm going to bring you 5 defensive midfielders that Liverpool should be signing this summer. But before we get into that, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Turn on post notifications so you're notified when we upload. And also in the comments, let me know what other type of videos you guys want to see. You know what I'm saying? We're still early days in this channel. So yeah, let's get into the video. Guys, as I was editing, I've just seen we've had a here we go from Fabrizio. 30-year-old Japanese midfielder Endo will be joining Liverpool. Wow, that came out of nowhere. I didn't see one link. I don't think we were linked to him once, and bang, all of a sudden, it's done. I've seen a lot of people angry at the signing, and to be honest, when I first saw it, I didn't understand it either. But if you delve deeper, to be honest, he ain't that bad. He can play DM, centre-back, and also right-back, so seems to me like a Milner replacement. He's captain of both Stuttgart and his national team too, so will help us restore some of the leadership and experience we lost this summer. Only slight issue is he takes up a non-homegrown slot, so unless we're trying to get rid of Tsimikas or Matip, it doesn't make sense as we still need a top DM and a left centre-back to come in. But hey, let's wait and see what the club do. Let's get back into the video. First up on the list is Fulham's Portuguese destroyer, Joao Palhinha. This guy's a machine. He joined Fulham last summer, and in his first season of Premier League football, he finished as the league's top tackler with 147 tackles. That's 47 ahead of second place, which was actually Moises Caicedo. The Portuguese is 28 years old, and a lot of people look at his age and think he's going to be done in a few years, but for me, that's far from the truth. For me, when assessing whether a player is going to decline, it's more about their body clock, the games played, rather than their age necessarily. Because there can be players who've played so many minutes in their career, but still be young. Guys like Rooney and Fabregas who started playing top level football at 16, when they reached 30, their bodies were a lot different to someone like Jamie Vardy or Ian Wright, who arrived on the scene much later. Palhinha has played 2,000 minutes in his career so far. Compare that to Fabinho, who's only a year older, and he's played 39,000. That's almost double the minutes, even though he's only 1 year older. So it's more likely someone like Palhinha will have a more prolonged career as his body clock is much lower. As I mentioned earlier, he's a tough tackling midfielder. He isn't the best on the ball, but to be honest, we just need a destroyer. He's going to have Trent next to him when he inverts, McAllister and Szoboszlai in front. He just needs to win the ball and pass it to the players. Fulham are reportedly asking for 90 million to get him out of the club. We could have got him for 20 million last summer. Jurgen Klopp, mate, you've got blood on your hands. Next up, we've got his Portuguese compatriot Florentino Luis from Benfica. If you're talking profiles, he's probably the closest to Fabinho in world football. The skinny frame, the long wiry legs that reach the ball even when he least expects it, like he's almost a carbon copy. This is another guy who defensively is a monster. He won the most tackles out of any player in the Champions League last season. His defensive stats are out of this world. Top 4% for tackles, top 1% for tackles and interceptions, and he's also in the top 1% for dribblers tackled with a success rate of 69%. And what makes this even more impressive is he's doing all of this for Benfica, one of the most ball dominant teams out in Portugal. Stylistically, he's a good fit as well. Before Enzo left in January, they played together in a double pivot with Enzo being in charge of the playmaking duties and Florentino as the destroyer. That could be replicated at Liverpool with Trent when he's asked to invert. Contrary to reports, getting him out of Benfica shouldn't be that tough. They've got Joao Neves from the academy and also brought in Cockchu this summer. Both play in his position, and they actually paired together in the double pivot in the Super Cup match versus Porto. Cheick Doucoure from Crystal Palace is a 24-year-old Mali? He's from Mali. Palace signed him from Lens last summer, and at the time, a lot of people were surprised he even went to them. If you look at his FBref profile, you can see he's 5'10", so a similar build to Lavia and Caicedo. And like Caicedo, his defensive actions are of a high level. Especially his interceptions there. As you can see, he's in the top 5% across midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues. In possession stats look horrible, I can't lie, but I would say that's more on the team he plays for than him as a player. Crystal Palace averaged 46% possession in the Premier League last season, so his on-the-ball numbers will be much lower than a Caicedo who played for Brighton, the second highest possession team in the league last season. In his final year at Lens, Doucoure was ranked as the 4th best under-25 midfielder in Europe when it came to progressive actions. That's progressive passes, progressive carries, and also defensive output, tackles and interceptions. He was ahead of Zubimendi, who Liverpool were chasing last summer, and also Declan Rice, who's gone for over 100 million to Arsenal. So the guy can play. The Crystal Palace midfielder was linked to Liverpool even before this Caicedo stuff, and we were quoted at £70 million. But now, they could be asking for anything. That's the most damning thing. Now, every single club knows we have £110 million to spend. They also know we're desperate, so more than likely we're going to get bumped. But it is what it is, to be honest. We're going to have to swallow our pride and just pay the money. If I'm painting like this, maybe the price won't sound too bad. Like Doucoure won Player of the Year at Palace last season, ahead of Eze, ahead of Zaha, and also ahead of Elise. If news came out that Eze was linked to Liverpool for £70 million, I don't think a lot of Liverpool fans would be that mad. And this man, according to Palace fans, he was a better player. Now let's head to South America, Brazil, and we've got Fluminense midfielder André. The Brazilian has been linked with a move to Liverpool, and there's no surprise as to why. He's a typical Klopp midfielder, high energy, technical ability, and full of personality. Even though he plays the 6th for Diniz' side, he's pretty much an all-round midfielder. When he wins the ball, he often takes responsibility to progress the play himself, whether that be through passing or carrying. In that sense, he reminds me of Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle. Not your archetypal 6, but a player that every team would love to have. As I said, he's not your typical defensive midfielder, he's much shorter for a start. Standing at 5'9", he's the shortest player in this list. This causes him to struggle in the air. He's in the bottom 6 percentile for aerials won, and that's in the Brazilian league, let alone the Premier League. He played as a right midfielder for Fluminense on occasion, so he's comfortable out wide and also in the middle of the park. Might be controversial, but if he were to join, I could see him being used as a cover for Trent. Fluminense have ambitions of winning both the Brazilian Serie A and the Copa Libertadores this season, so wouldn't want to sell one of their most important players. They would be willing to part ways with the Brazilian for £20 million, but that's at the end of the Brazilian league season, so he'd be joining us in January. We've seen this done previously with Gabriel Jesus when he joined City, and also Vitor Roque currently at Barcelona. However, if we do want to bring him in this summer, he does have a release clause of €40 million. That's £34 million, so if we're desperate, the option's there. And finally, for the man that I've personally been screaming to bring in, it's Martin Zubimendi. Now this guy has it all. He's a superb tackler, extremely dominant in the air, and also one of the best sixes in Europe in possession. Whether he be left or right, he's comfortable off either foot, and that's extremely useful as it means he has more passing angles he can access when progressing the play or playing out of trouble. Apart from Trent, we don't really have players who are super comfortable at building a game. So bringing in a Spanish 6 like Zubimendi, a guy who's been learning how to orchestrate play from the age of 6, will help us so much. There's a €60 million release clause in his contract, that's £52 million. We sold Fabinho for 40 million and Henderson for 12. 40 plus 12, do the maths. So if we do want him, it's a relatively straightforward deal to complete, no negotiations. The only thing in question is if the guy would even want to come. He rejected Barcelona last summer and his boys club Sociedad are in the Champions League now for the first time in 9 years. And unfortunately we're not, we're in the Europa League. But maybe he wants to follow in his footsteps of his idol, Mr. Xabi Alonso. The last midfielder we bought from Sociedad didn't turn out too bad. That's the end of this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share to your friends, family, anyone that you know that enjoys football. Put the word out that it's your boy has a right.